First on 5, a deadly, chaotic scene at a dance studio in Mobile right now. An SUV plowed into the business full of small children. One person is dead, 5 people are injured, including one child. A heartbreaking scene. Children have been crying out, desperate to find their parents. We've seen stretcher being loaded into ambulances, in some cases, adults holding children going into those. Now, the SUV plowed into the Sheffield School of the Dance on Old Shell Road. This is near the University of South Alabama campus. News 5's Alan Carter joins us now live from the scene. Now, Alan, the fatality we were told during our 5 o'clock broadcast was a man. Do we know yet, is that man the driver of the SUV that's inside that business?
And actually, Roseanne, I should correct, we got some information, updated information from the Mobile Fire Rescue Department, and they actually informed us that the person that was deceased is a woman, and she was inside of the building at the time, and actually is still inside of the building, and she is trapped underneath the car. Her body is still inside of that building. We talked to some of the witnesses, parents, folks that knew her and that were familiar with her because their children also go to the studio, and they say that she was a grandmother of one of the children here. And as you're looking at the scene here right now, what they're trying to do is they're working on trying to extract the vehicle there. As we said, the individual is still pinned underneath the car. And again, things have calmed down quite a bit at the scene here. When we first got here, there were still a lot of children. Their parents had come to pick them up, although other parents that were inside involved when this thing happened. And they say that a car just really out of nowhere, without warning, there was no braking or anything that gave them any indication. Next thing they knew, they started hearing the crashing, and then that car came barreling in right through the studio. And as you can see, there is a big gaping hole through there. The car still inside of the building right now. We talked to the Mobile Fire Rescue spokesperson Steve Huffman, who gave us a little bit of an update in terms of what happened here.
This is still a developing scene. The police department is actively working to determine what caused the accident to occur. What we do know is a vehicle ran into the Sheffield School of Dance. We have 1 confirmed fatality. We have 5 injuries that are not life-threatening. 4 of those are adults and 1 is a child.
Of the fatality, was that possibly the driver, or was that a child in this building?
I believe it's an adult, but I do not have the information right now.
Do we know what caused this thing? One of the witnesses said that when he came up here, the driver was not responsive or was passed out in the vehicle here. Was this some sort of medical emergency, or do we know the condition of the driver?
We don't know that at this time. Again, the police department is actively working the scene to determine the cause. All the patients have been transported to the hospital.
And again, back out here live, an update again that the victim in this case, the person that is deceased, is a woman who was inside of the studio, was hit by that car, and is still trapped underneath there. And we're told from other people, parents that go to this dance studio, that is a grandchild of one of the children that went to the school here, or that goes to the School of Dance here. Again, not so much information on the driver right now. We do not know exactly what happened, what led up to this incident, if they passed out, had some sort of medical emergency, or why that car went in, but actually went in at a very high rate of speed, according to witnesses here. Also talked to the dance studio owner who was inside of this building when it happened. She says that there were about 6 kids inside, a number of parents or family members that were also watching and standing around when this happened. And she said a lot of them were actually to the other side of the building where that impact happened. There were some kids that ended up being trapped underneath but did not actually get hit by the car. Were just underneath there when a rush of people came in to help out and pull those people out. And here's a little bit more of what she had to say.
I was teaching my 345 ballet class, and the children were sitting on the floor, and I heard this loud explosion, and it shook the building, and I had a feeling that something bad was getting ready to happen, and a vehicle comes plowing into the studio, clear across to the other side, pinned the children underneath, but the children were fine. They were not run over, and just everything was destroyed.
And an absolute frantic scene here as parents came out, and parents were actually inside of the building as this incident happened. Unfortunately, a lot of the children were a little bit further away from where that impact happened because that class was going on. Some of the parents were inside, as I mentioned, and some actually had to come to the scene. They got that phone call that something had happened here and did not know exactly what, but they came out very panicked, and I talked to one of those parents as they went to pick up their child.
From here.
Were they in there?
They were in the back of the building, so they really just heard the song. They didn't see anything or anything else.
How are you doing right now? I mean,
I'm fine. Scary. I mean, the kids are just scared. They're crying, so But I'm okay. I was just a little nervous, but I'm fine.
Absolutely heartbreaking to think of.
Absolute panic is...
Go ahead, Alan.
I'm sorry, Roseanne, but I was just saying how panic, and as you were mentioning the heartbreak, and it was for myself personally, as I mentioned during the 5 o'clock hour, just how emotional that was when you walk up here, come to the scene, and there are children out here. Some of their parents hadn't gotten here yet, but they were out screaming, calling for their mother, their father, for their parents to come and help them. Some of them had cuts. They were being attended to by the fire department. And again, I mean, that's kind of one of those things that stays with you as you watch that unfold.
Well, I can't help but think of the children who were pinned underneath that vehicle, and the grandmother who has died is still pinned under that. Imagine those children under that vehicle with her, how horrified they must have been.
Right, and I think at that age, I mean, you don't know what to think when that happens. But again, very quickly from what we heard is that there were people that heard this all happen, and they rushed to the scene and started pulling out the children. I talked to the dance owner again, who, and I don't know if she said that during that soundbite that we played earlier there, but she said that at the time that it happened so fast and the people rushed in to pull those children out so fast, is that when she was able to gather her faculties and looked around, she really didn't see a whole lot of the children there, and she really didn't know what happened, and she thought that this incident was a lot more serious, that we were talking about multiple fatalities at the time, but then she realized again that there were some of those Samaritans that rushed in and were able to help those children out.
And as you said, the deceased is a grandmother of one of the children who attends the Sheffield School of the Dance. Let me ask you, have you, from talking from people there, even though you got there pretty quickly on the scene, any idea about the driver? Was it a male, a female? Anybody see them walking out, or were they pulled out? They're obviously not in that vehicle anymore.
And this has not been actually confirmed from Mobile Fire Rescue, but from everyone that we talked to, witnesses who watched this thing happen, they said that they referred to them as a he, so believe that was a male there. Again, we do not know the condition of the driver. I mean, from what we're told, or what it sounds like what we're gathering, what witnesses said when they came up here and noticed that the driver was already passed out, that there was some sort of medical issue that happened before the car left the roadway and then eventually entered the building.
Now, we have heard some speculation or reports, though not confirmed, that the driver may have had a heart attack. Are you hearing that there on the scene?
Not heard it. I mean, they've just been describing it as a medical emergency. When witnesses got to the scene, they said the driver was not responsive.
Okay.
Well, Alan, are you familiar with whether or not that truck, that SUV, came off of O'Shell Road into that parking lot, then into the building?
Now, that we're not certain exactly what the path is, but if you take a live picture here, and my photographer Gary Arnold's going to pull out just a little bit here, what you're looking at right now is this is a car that I believe was parked inside of the vehicle that's being loaded up onto the tow truck, but you can see that there are cars immediately in front of it. So the car that entered the roadway and into the building actually avoided all of those cars. So from my vantage point, what it looks like is as if that car came off of the roadway and actually into the designated entryway into the shopping center, jumped a curb and went in at an angle directly into the building.
Wow. Well, as you know, Alan, this situation is very tragic, but it could have been a lot worse. You say those kids were trapped underneath that vehicle for a short time.
Right, and it's a delicate thing to say. We were talking about, what being worse, and I think that's an accurate description, but also realizing that there was a loss of life here, that someone was deceased, a person that really probably did not have a lot of time to get out of the way here, because this incident happened very fast. As we said, the car came in at a high rate of speed, and then they were trapped underneath that vehicle, and actually at this point, from what we're told from the fire rescue, are still trapped underneath that vehicle. But as you kind of hit it on the head there, Mel, that there was children in this building, not only children that were taking the dance classes, as we're told, 6 children participating in the class, but from what I gathered, it also looked like there were siblings there as well. And it appears to be a tight community. I mean, obviously these children, they rehearse together, they take classes together. There were parents that I saw that came up to the scene that were not involved in this incident, that they did not have any children in the class at the time, but their children attended the school, and so certainly they knew some of the folks that were involved here, and they just came out to see what happened. And once they got the news and realized that someone did pass away here inside that building, they were shaken up.
Well, you know, Alan, Sheffield School of the Dance, it touches so many people here in Mobile. The business has been around for a long time. I know, Mel, your daughter attended there and your granddaughter actually teaches there. She was there just yesterday.
My daughter started with the Sheffield School of the Dance when she was 4 years old and continued until she graduated from high school. And because of the Sheffield School of the Dance, she was able to get a college scholarship for dance. So we're very close to the Sheffield School of the Dance, and at that very location on O'Shell Road, my daughter, who is a student at the Sheffield School of the Dance, is an instructor at that same location on Thursdays. So just 24 hours ago, she was in that very same building.
Yes, a lot of prayers are going out tonight for the folks there at the Sheffield School of the Dance, and certainly the family of the grandmother of one of the children who was killed there on the scene today. A very heartbreaking, shocking scene, and we will continue to cover this. Right now, we're going to take a break. Keep it right here on News 5.